Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Christa Burns, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Library Commission's weekly online event where we cover anything that may be of interest to librarians across the state and across the country now. We do these sessions live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, and they are recorded, so you can watch any of our previous sessions that we have done over the last 3 or more years. All available on our website, and we do anything that we can think of. Interviews, mini training sessions, Q&A sessions. We bring in outside guest speakers from outside the Library Commission very often, which is awesome. And we have our own speakers just come do things, commission staff come and do things, which is what we have today, a group of us from the Library Commission. Next to me, I have Michael Sauers, who is our Technology Innovation Librarian here at the Nebraska Library Commission. And next to him is Laura Johnson, the Continuing Education Coordinator here also at the Library Commission. And today's session is titled Finding the Good Stuff, and it was actually Laura's idea for today. Trying to figure out how do you keep up with everything that you do with both work and personal, I suppose. Mostly work related, professional related, but you could also use a lot of these tools and tips and things to do personal interest tracking. How do you find out what's important to you? How do you keep track of everything with so many resources online and in print still and just, all of that? So we're going to start off with Laura first with her presentation, and then Michael and I will follow up with that, with how we do things. We each have kind of a slightly different but related ways of doing this, and we're going to share all of that. We'd also like to know from you, what do you do? So as you're hearing what we're talking about, think about what you're doing, if there's something different that you do. Or something you want to share about something we're talking about, or you want to chime in and saying, yes, that's the best resource ever, whatever. Do it in the questions here. Tell us if you have a microphone, and we'll unmute you, and you can share that way. So I'm going to switch over and have Laura do her thing.
Hi, everybody. The idea here was that there's so much out there. So how do you find the good stuff? How do you try to keep up professionally and not bury yourself alive, which would be very, very easy to do. I have a quotation that I thought was so good. It was, separate the need to know from the nice to know. I think when we're pressed for time, we really have to try to concentrate on the need to know. So we've kind of divided this up by means or platform, if you want to call it that. I'm going to talk about things I get in my email. Now, really, the fact that I get them in my email isn't the important thing. The important thing is the content and how it works for me in terms of giving me information that I find useful in my work. But we kind of divided it up this way for convenience. A lot of these things, I get them in my email because having them in my email forces me to read them and deal with them and get them done. But they're available other ways as well. So the deal is to find a way that works for you. I don't think anybody here is going to tell you, oh no, you ought to do it this way. What we want to do is tell you, hey, here's a way that's kind of working for me. Maybe you'd like to try it. We hope you'll find some things that are new and interesting for you, although I don't think everything we're going to talk about today is necessarily new to people. I have some things that are pretty tried and true here. So I think that they may be old hat even. But I hope you really will let us know what you're reading. This is one of the things I find that when you meet other people, you always get to finally, after maybe the second margarita, is what are you reading? How do you do it? So I think this is a fun thing to talk about, and I tried to make the slides look fun. So
it's spring.
It is spring.
And also,
it's definitely spring.
It is spring, and I also forgot to mention Happy Pie Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's pie for lunch. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my one. Okay, so finding the good stuff. One of the first things I use is American Libraries Direct. Now, yeah, this is pretty darn tried and true. It comes every Thursday. Yeah, every Thursday in my email, and it takes a while to read. On the other hand, it is big.
Yeah. But it's full
it's full of stuff that I kind of need to know, and sometimes it's telling me things I already know, sometimes it's telling me new stuff, but it talks about people, it talks about events, it talks about issues, it talks about book awards. So, yeah, I find it useful. My email, this is really a snip from my email. My email will do HTML format. And, you know, that's another determining factor, whether you're going to use email or not. Do you have a strong email software? I have Outlook, and it works pretty well for me. I've put the URLs in here just because I'm a librarian. And that would be wrong to give people things without giving them the URL where you can sign up for this.
Uh-oh. No, me. We'll supply them afterwards if they're not.
Yeah, of
already.
course.
Yeah.
As usual, whenever we do our recordings afterwards, all the URLs are in the presentation. Anything that we mention will be included in our delicious links when we put out the recordings.
So you don't have to worry about recording these.
Don't try to write them all down. We'll get them to you.
I put them in there because...
But I like them on the PowerPoints on it, actually, because then if you're only looking at the PowerPoint, you somehow just come across it somewhere, you've got that info.
Well, and as I said, I'm a librarian. Okay, so another thing I use is Programming Librarian. This is another newsletter put out by the ALA, but I really like it. It has a list, it's I think monthly. It has a list of grants that are available. It has suggestions for programming. You know, August is going to be whatever month. And it gives it to you months in advance, so it gives you plenty of time to plan. It has good programming ideas. I think it's a really nice little newsletter. I Love Libraries, another ALA thing. This one's from ALTAF. We're all members of ALTAF. In Nebraska, the Nebraska Library Commission funds that for everyone, and it does give good ideas about promoting libraries, about loving libraries, so it's a good one to have. The next one is Above the Fold. Now, I've been reading a lot lately. There's a new book out about creativity and innovation, and I've been reading a lot about that. And evidently one of the big things in creativity and innovation is to get outside your field a little bit, because a lot of innovation involves taking something from another field and applying it in your field. Above the Fold from OCLC comes, I think it's weekly, and it basically links to several articles that have been about something that are not strictly about libraries, but are maybe of interest to librarians. So I think this is a really good kind of think piece. And I don't read everything from it. And yes, if my week gets very, very clogged up, well, I just kiss it goodbye that week. But I think it's kind of an interesting thing.
Can you send me the link to the Columbia Record House Record Club article? That sounds interesting.
Yeah. This is another interesting thing. It's put together by a woman, Maria Popova. She picks out things on the basis of interestingness, she says. So it's just interesting stuff. And not all of it is applicable. But it's kind of a fun thing to read. I picked this up pretty recently, and that's one thing I think we all agree about is I would go ahead, my personal bias is to go ahead and if you hear about something, try it out. And if it doesn't work for you in a couple of weeks or, you know, a couple of issues, dump it again.
Yeah.
I think you have to be pretty severe with these things. Because otherwise you will bury yourself. But why not try something out and see if it's interesting to you. See if you find things that apply. And of course, not everything's going to apply. I you're lucky if you make the 80-20 rule. You know, if 20% of what you're reading in something like this is stuff you can use. Nevertheless, it is interesting. Another one of those things about creativity is that they say that changing your patterns a little bit can sometimes lead to insights in problem solving. So I think it's good to read outside our strict walls of the library. Another Seth Godin's blog. Seth, of course, is what would he call himself, a mensch?
Yeah, mensch would probably be a good
mensch.
word.
He's a marketing guy, and we're talking so much about marketing libraries these days that I think it's good to read Seth. And sometimes he has some very wise things to say. Sometimes he doesn't. But they're short, they're daily, and he's just kind of, it makes you feel hip and with it to read Seth.
He also seems to tend to, and I don't know if it's on purpose or just what he thinks, he stirs up controversy in a lot of the way he talks about things. Sometimes he's got, so when you read his things, you do have to like realize, maybe read some old stuff and figure out how he presents his ideas. There's always, sometimes there's buried a really nice idea, but some of the writing around it is a little, Well,
he's
he stirs it up. He's
deliberately provocative.
To get people to think and to talk and discuss. That's the purpose
he can write 3 sentences that make me think longer than whole essays.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes.
It's not going to be an easy read necessarily, but it's going to make you think and discuss. And the comments on his post will go,
Yeah, but this stuff, these are blog posts actually, but they come in my email, and usually they're very short. They're no more than a couple paragraphs. So, I put Unshelved in because, if you're not reading Unshelved, you ought to be. It's a library comic strip, by heavens, and we ought to read it and support it. And also it's fun, and a little fun in your day sometimes is a very valuable thing.
And it does address serious library issues.
Yes, it does. Here Dewey is talking about Wikipedia. Dewey is the young adult librarian at the Mallville Public Library. He's our main character.
Drinks a lot of coffee and
yes,
computers.
Does. Yes, he does.
Can't relate.
Rides a motorcycle.
Well, I don't ride a motorcycle.
So, I think Unshelved is fun. This has been going on now for quite a few years.
6, 7 years.
Yeah. We've had the Jean and Bill here to speak at a colloquium. So, yeah, it's fun, and it takes, 30 seconds. Current Sites, another thing that's been going on a long time. They've been actually putting this out since 1990, which makes it aged in this world. It's a annotated bibliography, comes out monthly, and it talks articles, websites, even books sometimes, on information technology. Roy Tennant actually works for OCLC, but he's worked for several libraries in information technology. So again, it's a good thing to help you pick up articles that you might not have seen otherwise. It's, I think, generally pretty well done in terms of the way they describe things in it. PW Daily, Publishers Weekly, and I find some of the most amazing stuff in this. A lot of stuff on ebooks. Since we're all really into ebooks right now, it's good. Helps keep up on the issues and what the publishers have done lately.
I was going to say sometimes the ebooks from the other side of the arguments.
Yes. Well, and sometimes it's not the other side.
Well,
of the
sometimes too.
argument.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they're not the publishers per se.
No, they're not.
But they're generally reporting on what the publishers are doing,
Yes.
and so you can kind of.
I think it's hard to
side.
be a good librarian unless you kind of understand where the books are coming from, the publishing side of it. And this entry, for instance, and this is daily, this entry, for instance, tells us about the National Book Critics Circle Awards. That's a big literary award. It'll talk about that. It'll have book reviews. Sometimes it have author interviews, all kinds of things in it. But it kind of, I don't know, it's a way to keep up with this. So I think it's worth reading. The Scout Report.
Still around?
Yes, it's another
Oh,
venerable.
wow.
The Scout Report, back when the
early 90s.
Back when the internet was young,
Uh-huh.
and the Scout Report was finding good stuff on the internet for us, and they still are.
Oh, wow.
Since 1994.
Yeah, I was in library school.
It's part of the Internet Scout Project. It's put out by the University of Wisconsin. It's now the Computer Science Department. And, you know, it's weekly. I scan through it. Occasionally I find something really good, a good resource. I don't do that much reference. I don't really work the desk anymore to speak of. So I'm not trying to develop the definitive set of bookmarks anymore. But it gives you some stuff about, and occasionally it will talk about an issue that's in the news or something, and it will have a number of resources on that issue. So it really is a really good resource for people working a desk. I would think people in school libraries or academic libraries would find it very valuable, the way they put together resources on a particular topic sometimes. Our Research Buzz, another kind of, you know, thing that's been around a while. Tara Kalashane is telling us about stuff she found on the internet that she finds interesting. She's especially into Google. All kinds of stuff. You don't know what's going to happen there. It's quick, and I would say I find something every couple of days in this that I really think, oh, that's, you know, I need to know about that. So I think it's fun. Quick tips. This is one of Booklist's newsletters. Now, Booklist actually has 7 different newsletters that you can get. This one is for schools and libraries, so it's very good at helping you keep up again with books. It has thematic bibliographies, which I think is so useful when you're doing collection development, and they kind of tell you, oh, well, here's some good books on this particular subject. If you go to this website that I put down, it lists all of Booklist's newsletters, and if you just click on the name of the newsletter, it'll give you a rundown of what the newsletter is about. So I think if you don't get to read Booklist regularly, especially, or if you want to read in between getting the issues, some of these newsletters are very valuable. And if you're doing collection development, it's kind of the name of the game to keep up with this stuff. Now here's one. This is from the Nebraska Communities Internet Connectivity. And it's kind of, okay, I don't want to say it's odd. But anything can come up in this. All kinds of people use it. So the USDA will talk about grants they've given. And then another group will talk about something else that's going, completely different people will talk. But it kind of lets you know what's going on in Nebraska. It's a Nebraska thing. And it's really concerned with rural development. So it's very interesting. Now this one, for instance, Auburn Memorial Library is going to start building. And this came out yesterday. So these... And this is, you don't know how often this is going to come, because this is a listserv. So this isn't really blog posts or regular newsletters. This is something that just comes when somebody has something to say and wants to send it to a bunch of people. But I think this is something probably everyone would find worth being subscribed to, because occasionally there's stuff on here you really do want to know about. Now here's one, Gizmo's freeware. This comes every day. Gizmo is a, it's the website. It's run by volunteers, and it just talks about free tools on the internet. So it will have lists of places on the internet to get free ebooks, hundreds of them. Best free security software. Things like that. So today the article was about a new search engine. DuckDuckGo.
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 Yeah.
So it's good tips. You know, it's tech tips. Makes you, again, feel like, you know, maybe you're with it. Maybe not. But I kind of enjoy it, and it's a quick, easy thing to do. Barnes & Noble review, again, more book reviews because there's so many books out there and so little time. And if you want to keep, I have a Nook. Okay, I didn't go Kindle. I went Nook, and so you know it's nice to keep up with Barnes & Noble.
I'm guessing that URL is not correct in this slide. You'll update that for me because it's the same one as the last slide.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Typo,
typo. So anybody watching this will we'll update that in the links.
This kind of brings up an issue, which is almost all of the publishers have newsletters. Now, you know, I think it's good to keep up with publishers, but at the same time it's really problematic if you're doing a lot of selection from publishers' catalogs or publishers' publicity, because of course they want to sell the books. But it does help you keep up with what's out there. So Random House, Wiley, they all have newsletters you can sign up for. Okay, LJ Express, because Library Journal wouldn't want to be left out. Library Journal has 7 newsletters that they put out. You can get different ones, and I would suggest that you take a look at them because, again, if you don't see LJ all the time, or, you know, if you're on the routing list and you have people like me on your routing list that tend to kind of be slow sometimes, it's good to help you keep up.
You're not slow. You're deliberate.
Okay, thanks. Another thing I get that's a little bit outside the realm, but I think is worth it, which is Jumpin' Jack Flash. It's put out by the Boomer Project, which is about marketing to boomers. Still the largest demographic group. It's still the pig and the snake.
Sorry, just working out that visual.
Yeah. People born from 1946 to 1964. It's a huge group of people. We are getting older. And I think the kind of marketing ideas, the kind of, you know, what these people are looking for, as some of them are starting to retire, some of them. But, you know, I do hear that programming for adults is sometimes difficult for some libraries. They don't quite know what's going to bring people in. And this is something that can help. And I think generally talking about demographics of groups is a good idea. You need to really think about that in the library. And then my last one, this is put out by the Lincoln City Libraries. Lincoln City has 37 different newsletters that you can sign up for.
I don't feel bad about not knowing about this one, then.
Oh, okay. And I think they're terrific. What a great marketing thing for the library. I enjoy reading their reviews. Then they have links into their catalog. I think as an example of something a library can do, this is fabulous. Again, it's another way to keep up with books, and so that's fabulous. I think this is real win-win. I'd say take a look at these and see, well, you know, is this something my library can do? And even if it's not something you feel your library could do, you still can read it and keep up with books. They have one that gives you a rundown of the New York Times bestsellers, for instance. They're very nice. So that was kind of my quick list. As I said, I get these in my email. A lot of them would have an RSS feed, or you can go to the website. But having them in my email means I deal with them. So anyway, what are you guys reading?
Anything come through?
If you have anything that you want to share, any good newsletters that you follow, anything you get in your emails, type it into your question section. If you want to use your microphone, just say, hey, unmute me, and I will do that. And then you can share what you're using with everyone as well. So,
Oh, come on,
well,
make my day. Give me something new to read.
yeah, we're looking for new places. Like, I've already found some things that you mentioned I'd not heard of before. Yeah, well,
She's already forgotten.
Yeah, that's why I got the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But no, some of the basic library related ones, yeah, I've heard of some of those, but some of the other ones, well, like the one that the Scout report, I used, when I got started,
geez,
oh my God, it was, and I did work, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
head of reference at
That
a
was the
library
resource.
at a university.
It absolutely
That, and also
was
the Buzz one,
fantastic.
the other one,
The research buzz.
Research Buzz, I remember that too, following it. And then, like you said, I no longer work actually on a reference desk in the library anymore, so that kind of, I stopped thinking about it and paying attention to it, and I've moved on to other things. But I'm so thrilled they're still out there, though, for the people that are on the desk.
Yeah, I am too.
They were like, yeah. Nostalgia.
Especially,
Okay, we're going to move. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Were you going to say something more about
No,
that?
no, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So share with us. I'll keep an eye on your questions. Let us know. I'll interrupt as needed. We're going to switch over to Michael now, who's going to tell us what we may or may not know about doing things through RSS. Well, as Laura
sure.
said, some of the stuff you've heard of. Like I said, I've heard of some of the things she mentioned. Some I hadn't. One of the TV stations has previously had in their marketing, if it's new to you, if you haven't watched it before, when they're
Absolutely.
showing their repeats of their TV shows.
So the way I'm going to look at it, and to follow up from Laura, that, like, for example, the Seth Godin one, I get it as a feed instead of in my email. My style is significantly different from Laura's. This is kind of why we have the three of us here. Although I do some email newsletters like Laura does, and I do some of the things that Christa will be talking about. But I kind of, where I center the majority of my getting of content is through something like Google Reader, which is an RSS feed reader. I don't want to necessarily get too much into RSS. I was thinking about this morning, and you have this wonderful subscribe button here. And RSS used to be a lot more complicated than it is today. In a lot of cases, if you find a website and you notice that they publish stuff on a regular basis, whether it's a blog or not, let's just not even worry about how the site's put together. You click that subscribe button, and you paste in the URL of the website. And if there is a way that Google Reader can figure out how to deliver you the new stuff and keep track of it for you, it will do it. I mean, RSS is the underlying technology, but it's almost transparent at this point. So I try not to get a lot in email. I do get newsletters. I get from publishers, especially for publishers I buy from, and from other sources where there isn't an RSS feed available. But, like, for example, right now my inbox is pretty full. I have 7 unread messages when I came down here. I don't want to deal with email. I want to get it another way if I possibly can. But like Laura said, if it comes in my inbox, I have to deal with it. Yeah. So I'm one of those people who try. I get itchy at, like, 30 unread emails. I just, other people don't. That's just me. Okay. So we're just showing how we do it, not necessarily how you have to do it. I want to stress that over and over again.
What you're talking about actually relates to a question I just got.
Oh, okay.
You started talking, sort of. You're talking about, you get it in your email, so it's in your face. You've got to look at it. Yeah. Obviously, with their Google Reader, you have to make the effort, the extra
I do have to make,
go
yes,
over and look at my reader to see what new has come in. The question is, how much time a day do you set aside for reading these newsletters? Which also could be tweaked into the question of, do you set aside certain time, or do you just, well, what do you do? How do you figure out, how do I work this into my day? Do you set aside time? Do you just, what?
I'm one of those people who doesn't have to go to her email every time a message comes in.
Mm-hmm. Some people, yeah.
I have about 3 times during the day when I go look at my email.
Oh, okay.
I'll look at my email first thing in the morning, then I'll look at it before lunch, and then I'll look at it in the late afternoon.
Okay.
If there's something I really want to read, but I don't have time right then, I shove it into a folder in my Outlook, and
to read later.
And I'll pick it up later.
I have a similar thing I'll show that's a little different than that.
And if it's really a bad week and there are some things that I think are maybe I don't absolutely have to see, I delete them.
Yep.
That's okay. Yes.
As I said, I think you need to be, let me use the word ruthless about this. If it works for you, good. If it doesn't, get rid of it. If you don't have time, skip it once. If you find yourself skipping it for 3 weeks, dump it.
Sure. With me and RSS feeds, the three of us are probably not exactly what you would describe as typical. I mean, no. we have an office, a desk. We don't have to go down to the reference desk. We don't deal with patrons directly. So we might have a little more available time than some folks listening to this.
We have different ways of dealing with our time.
Right.
We also, I think we're reading these things because we're using them when we then put out information for people. So, I mean, I use an awful lot of this stuff when I'm putting together classes.
Yes. Yeah, same here.
So, I think, maybe we are reading more than the average Joe.
Sure. I've gotten 6 new items since we just started talking here coming in. Now, just
so
how do I do it? I always have a tab in my browser that has Google Reader open. So I'm kind of constantly referring back to it, and the tab up here at the top says 977. Yes, and it says I currently have 977 unread items. Now I know Laura is doing this cringing. What the heck? Okay, well this is where now I'll show you a couple of things I actually read where Laura kind of focused on. We didn't have to explain email. Most people so she kind of focused on what exactly she's reading. I'll do a couple of those, but talk a little bit about the style here. As you can see down the left, I've organized my feeds into categories. If I open up books and authors, you'll see I have a couple of publishers in here. This is an author's blog, publisher, publishing insights, which I think is from O'Reilly, so another publisher, computer publisher. I'm also only showing feeds that I have that have unread items in it. So actually there's many more feeds listed under books and authors. But I'm just showing, I'm kind of like, if there's nothing new, I don't care that it exists until there's something new. And so if I just say, okay, I've now read that, you'll now notice I now have 976. Okay. Now a couple of issues about that number. One is I have a folder down here near the bottom called Flickr. And there are currently 394 unread items. Those are I have a feed for all new photos on Flickr tagged sushi. Okay. I don't necessarily look at all of those. There's absolutely no way I could possibly look at all of them. So, for fun here, I might go, okay, Flickr, I've got, 1,000 items I haven't read. I can say, show me everything that's in Flickr, and then I can just click this wonderful little button here that says mark all as read, and they go bye-bye, and now my unread number is 586. Okay, so boom. I mean, I just took out a third of my content right there. You'll also notice if I took out politics, that's the other usual big one there. It's like politics and news and stuff. So if I clear up, mark all that as read, and now I'm down to 282 items. Okay,
that's what I mean about being ruthless.
Yes, being ruthless. So just because there are 900 unread items doesn't mean I read 900 items. Right? If I open up consumerism here, I might, and this is where keyboard shortcuts come through. The way Google Reader works is J is next item, K is previous item. So I'll go through, okay, 5 mortal sins of email use. That one I might actually want to read. We'll come in. So J, the bra that doesn't fit you right at all. Not something I'm going to read, so I'm going to press J again. PlayStation Vita. So I will, quickly kind of run through these and just read all the headlines. And if I see something that I want to read, so if I back up here to 5 mortal sins of email use, that might be something. Now, depending on how long it is, I might sit and read it right here, right now. If it's really long, another little tool here for this particular item, I have send to. And I could send it to a PDF if I wanted to print it. I could bookmark it in Delicious or Digo. I could dig it. I could post it to Facebook. I could post it to Twitter. But I have this wonderful service I use called Instapaper. Okay, lots of people use that. There's a couple of different. So if I just send that off to Instapaper and say, okay, there's the URL, there's the title. I can put in a summary. I click Add, and it goes away. It's kind of, I've in essence bookmarked it. But it's not something I'm bookmarking for reference later. Like, hey, there's this site I need to go to if a particular situation happens. For an article. If I then switch over to my Instapaper and I refresh this, F5, yes, there is my 5 mortal sins of email use.
I use a thing called Read Later.
Read Later is very similar to this. And this is where I can now, when I have some time to read the longer articles, I can pull them up here. I can organize them. If you look at my folders on the right there, I do have some like Windows 8 stuff where, one day I'm going to work on Windows 8 stuff. So I'll go, there's the articles I wanted to read by that. This service, and I also believe Read Later will do this, is I can actually export this, all the articles in a particular folder into an EPUB file and pull them onto my Nook. Yeah. So if I have a bunch of really long articles, okay, I can export them to an ebook format and then dump them onto my Kindle and take them on the plane with me, that sort of thing. So I use kind of a combination of RSS feeds, Instapaper for longer stuff, and then even exporting it out to possibly pull it up on my e-reader for when I don't have a Wi-Fi connection, like on an airplane.
Yeah. So,
question?
Well, from
or
me,
comment? Yes. Okay.
So can you explain in like 1 or 2 sentences what is Instapaper and Read Later?
Instapaper is
it's
a free online service that allows you to basically it is bookmarking, but it's not then like Delicious where you can search them and tag them, and it's where Delicious kind of acts as an archive of bookmarks. Instapaper is kind of a there's an acronym called TLDR, Too Long Didn't Read.
Yes.
And so these are my too long didn't reads. I need to read them later. Or another example would be I find something in my Google Reader that may not be 100% appropriate for me to read at work. I'll put it in my Instapaper and then check Instapaper when I get home. Okay, hey, here's the stuff I was meaning to read at work, or shouldn't really read at work, but I got it in a feed at work, so I just send it over there and I can read it later. So yes. So
they're free services you can sign up for, and then as you can see here, do you then somehow within Google Reader connect them and say here are my other from that pulled up menu from send to, you connect all your other accounts, your Facebook, your Instapaper, your whatever, so that they work together.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
All right, so a couple of resources that I suppose I want to talk about here, and you did some of them already. I read Seth Godin, but it's here. An interesting site, this is kind of almost at a left field, called longform.org. What they do is they actually they kind of keep an eye on the news, and then they find like full-length articles on things going on that are available online, like from Rolling Stone and The Atlantic and that sort of thing. And so here's an article on French influence in Africa is on the wane and the Chinese are coming. From the London Review of Books, okay? Not necessarily directly library related, but it's like one of those you never know what's going to come across here. And there could be some really good articles that I have found that are relevant to this. If I open up my tech folder here, I know there's always going to be some stuff in there. Ars Technica is a great technology blog, news source, longer articles. Gizmodo is kind of here is the latest, greatest tech gadgets that are coming out and new software and technology, that sort of thing. Engadget and Gizmodo are kind of, a lot of times you get the same topics from both of them, but by different authors, so you get a little different view. I'll also point out Lifehacker. Lifehacker is a really cool website. Some of it's technology, some of it's how to organize your office. It's how to hack your life to do things better.
Yeah.
How to get through your email quicker. How to organize your content. How to. There was an article this morning about if you have a panini maker, make sure before you stick it in the sandwich, wrap it in wax paper. It won't char as much.
I like the char.
Well, okay, but if you like the char, that's fine. But you can heat the sandwich without charring it. I mean, they tips and tricks for making your life more easy to do. I got is on that, and I'll also throw in here too free technology for teachers. Great blog. Lots of very interesting things I found through here. And here they're talking about Project 365, which I've heard of. Probably something I'll go back and check out a little later. So those are some of the things when you throw up my LIS stuff here. I do read Catalog a blog. I'm not a cataloger. Well, I can't quite make the ward off evil symbol because I'm married to one. So so I like to have a vague idea what's going on in the cataloging world, and I work next door to one. So that sort of thing. Copy Fight. If I follow a lot with copyright issues. So this is a great resource. I will also throw in here and then hand it over to Christa. I have a folder somewhere down here, listen subscriptions. Now, what these are in this case are podcasts, okay, which I've subscribed to in Google Reader, but because I then have a piece of software on my Android phone called Listen, I can listen to the podcast here, or I can listen to them through Google Reader. It kind of allows me to be a little more mobile. American Public Media's Marketplace Tech Report. This is a daily 4 to 5 minute audio program just about what's going on in technology. You might hear it on your NPR station. The Thomas Jefferson Hour, where Guy plays Thomas Jefferson and talks about issues. It's really wonderful. Spark Plus. Spark is a radio show from the CBC up in Canada, and they do kind of a weekly 1 hour show where they interview people, but on the podcast they'll actually do the full unedited interviews with folks. So in a weekly show they might interview 3 or 4 people, but you can get like the full hour interviews with these tech people in this. So just kind of a couple really good audio-based resources that I listen to. And then I would also mention twit.tv, any of the Twit shows about This Week in Tech, Security Now, Windows Weekly, Android, Mac Break Weekly, all sorts of super geeky technology podcasts. So,
question, yes. Is there a way that is there a, what do you call it? They had this in blog lines. A public link where people can see what's in your Google Reader. So, because someone wants to know so that they can know. You listed a whole bunch of things you follow and some that you haven't shown. Is there a way that someone can see what you are following so they can then follow the same ones? Is it like a public version?
Last week I was looking for that. And in Google Reader, there used to be. I can't find it anymore. There used to be a public-private setting.
Right, yeah. And you can pick and choose.
And you can pick which ones are public and which ones are private. And I went looking, and I could not find one. I had every intention of saying, here's the public URL to everything I subscribe to that I've made public. And they seem to have made that to disappear. We will provide links to the things we mentioned. I'll pull out a few more that I didn't get a chance to mention in the interest of time that I think people should be looking at. But yeah, I literally, if you were to
and we'll try and see what happened with that whole see if we can find something that explains they changed it. I don't know.
Yeah, ultimately I subscribe to literally like 800 feeds.
Yeah.
Some of those feeds are like the Flickr photos, which I will never see all of them. Some of them are things that come out once a month. I just get them as a feed instead of an email newsletter. So don't let any of the numbers you see connected to my account freak you out. It's probably a higher number than the average person. B, I don't read all of them. You just can't. And there is a wonderful little mark, like I can zero that out right now.
Yeah.
Under subscriptions and just declare feed bankruptcy. And if I've been gone for a week at a conference or something and I come back on Monday morning and like each one of those categories, the number maxes out at 1,000. And I think for any particular feed it maxes out at a couple hundred, where it just stops updating you if you haven't read them all. And I will just say, Mark, all is read. I'm starting over today. And, if it's important enough, I'll either hear about it from another feed or through the methodology that Christa kind of focused along. So how is that for a segue? All right, so we're going to give her the keyboard.
Actually, I'll use the mouse.
Okay, use the mouse. All right.
But yes, just as Laura had said earlier about being ruthless, and Michael just said how he does that, is ruthless. That's something I think you got to understand when you see all of these things, all of those huge amount of feeds, those tons of numbers of lists, of newsletters that Laura subscribes to, all the things you're going to see that I follow here. Don't try and read everything. You'll go crazy. You have to be able to sit back and say, okay, I've been home all night, and people around the world have said things. I can just pick up from now. And if I don't see something really big and important, someone else will tell me about it. Someone else will have seen it and say, hey, did you see the thing about the thing? And it's okay to miss some stuff. What I'm going to show here too is maybe not necessarily some particular things that I follow as examples, but ways that I now get my information, the same information that these guys follow. Yes.
I heard a new acronym yesterday that you just mentioned, FOMO.
FOMO?
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah,
Don't
yes.
suffer from FOMO.
No.
I used to have that, and I got over it.
Yes.
I remember a formed FOMO.
There's
I don't know.
there's so much churn on the internet that nothing big is going to happen that you're not going to hear about.
Yeah. What I'm going to show you here is how I now get lots of my information. I used to be a big RSS feed person. That was my thing. I used Bloglines, which is still around.
Yeah.
Back in 2010, Bloglines was being shut down, we were told. Whoever was running it wasn't going to do it anymore. And so there's a lot of panic. And
Yeah,
I didn't
moved to
panic.
Google Reader.
I moved to Google Reader. You were able to export all of your feeds, like what Michael's just showing you, and import them into other things. I did that. However, I had hundreds and hundreds of feeds as well, and I ended up with this email telling me, okay, we moved all these, but these 200 and something we were unable to do for you, so you now have to move them manually. At that point, I said, no. I just can't. I can't think about this. I can't deal. I'm going to step back and think about it later and figure out how to get which feeds were they? Were they important ones? Were they things I'm still paying attention to? Are they dead feeds that I just didn't even realize? Because you can keep adding things that you saw from Michael's. You'll see the new stuff, but you might have 100 feeds that have died, but you don't even realize it because you're not getting new things,
right.
And et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of had a little freak out and said, the heck with it. And then gradually discovered that there were other things. I was getting the same information repeatedly in other locations. Specifically for me, what I'm going to show you here now is Twitter, Facebook, and Friendfeed. Three online services. You guys know about them, I'm sure, basically, that as where now I get my information. I have a Google Reader account still. I don't use it anymore because almost everything I was seeing in there I was also seeing elsewhere. People I know were sending them to me via Twitter. A lot of these newsletters that Laura follows and feeds and blogs that Michael follows, they also have Twitter feeds or Facebook pages now. So there's other ways to get the same information, and that's just now how I'm doing it. It's interesting. This is what I use to access my Twitter. It is actually a service called Seesmic, S-E-E-S-M-I-C. And it allows me to organize it's not just the main Twitter webpage. I can organize everything I do into categories. I've got a main, and they're just different columns for different things. So you can see here everything I get coming in and coming into the first page. I follow SlideShare. If you share things in SlideShare, they post, so I can keep up on what they're doing. Hey, Jessamine West, librarian from Vermont, who just spoke at a conference for us a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Big talk. She's speaking at the University of Missouri on Monday. Hey, anybody want to go to Columbia, Missouri? You can see her talk.
Road trip.
Go on a road trip. So this is everything I get. And you see it's been updating constantly. So what I do in Seesmic is I put things into categories, into lists, and into columns. My first one here, NLC. Anyone who works the commission who posts on Twitter or the commission's own Twitter feed. You can see Michael, this is him. He posts a lot, so he fills it up pretty well. Yeah. But I have it all categorized, so anything commission related. Next to that, I have put Nebraska libraries. Any libraries who are on Twitter and are in Nebraska, I can see everything they're doing in one page. And there's Lincoln City Libraries. It's on there. South Sioux City Library. Then Lincoln in general, the city of Lincoln, because I live here. So anything that could possibly have something vaguely related to Lincoln. We have a Qdoba food place. We have a Marcus Theater. As you can see, I just follow businesses. But there's also, here we go, 1011 News, our local news. So anything Lincoln related I have on there. And then I have the next column over, this is really hard to, Nebraska in general, so wider, expanding out to just Nebraska. And then library groups and associations beyond Nebraska, American libraries. There's a library technology conference going on right now in Minneapolis. ALA, Library Journal. So the things that Laura was just talking about, I'm getting stuff from them in through my Twitter, and I have them organized here. What else do we have? Oh, people mentioning me. My own posts, people talking to me. So all these different things that I can organize it so I can follow on Twitter. So this is now where I'm getting a lot of the same things you may have seen that these guys are getting as well, just in a different place. Also, Facebook. This is my Facebook. Hopefully nothing horrifying will come up.
This is where I put off my ward off evils. I am not a Facebook person.
Lots of people lots of organizations, lots of businesses and individuals have Facebook pages now. The Library Commission does. Right here just popped up. Nebraska Librarians Learning Together has a page. This is a group that's set up by Catherine. She's the one who just shared it too. Catherine here at the Library Commission, Catherine Brockmeyer, for librarians in Nebraska to share resources with. We have scholarship students on there. We have librarians on there. So I can see things coming up on here. ALA Think Tank, a group of librarians together doing things. So these things pop up on here. Now this is a mixture of, just like my Twitter, work-related things. And why did my...
You just scroll down.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Your phone.
What? Okay. What's translated into Latin?
Yeah, Harry Potter is available in Latin.
Oh, wow. There you go. A Novel Idea is a local bookstore, a local used bookstore. They post now pictures of new books they've got in photos. And what you can actually do, this is just an interesting aside, they post this picture and they say, who wants it? Whoever comments on this first and says, I'll buy it, gets to have the book, and they hold it for them, and then they come and pick it up whenever they want. Anyway, just an interesting little, not just coming, it's like whoever comments first. This is just 2 minutes ago, so if you want this book and you're in Lincoln, better get on it.
Not a bad price.
No. Yeah. So the Lead Center, anything, ALA Job List. So anything you can think of, you can follow on Facebook too. So I get a lot of things that would possibly come in. And a lot of people, a lot of organizations and groups like the Library Commission are posting things both on an RSS feed that people can follow. People can follow the Commission, Library Commission's blog on an RSS feed. It feeds out through our Twitter. It feeds out through email. And it goes out into our Facebook page. So wherever you are, you can follow what's coming through from the Commission blog, whichever way it works. And this is just, well, I post things to the blog, but this is where I follow. And the third thing, the last thing I have, as we're getting close to the end of our time here, is Friendfeed. Now, Friendfeed is a web service, I guess you'd call it, where I believe the original purpose of it was you have all these different places that you do things in, Twitter and Flickr and a blog and Facebook. How about one place where you can go to follow all of these different places? It depends on if the people are actually sending stuff into Friendfeed. As you can see, Jessamine, who just posted on my Twitter in Seismic, here's her post here, the same exact tweet in Friendfeed. So yes, there is duplication, but there are some people that only use Friendfeed. And same thing here, if you look at my, I think this will be okay to click on one. I have to set my Facebook, my Flickr, my YouTube account, my Delicious links, anything I do in LinkedIn and other services feed into my Friendfeed account. So anyone who follows me will then, whenever I post anything to any of those services, will get them into Friendfeed as well. And the same thing with other people. Any of the Commission actually feeds in here as well. So I will see that the Commission has something on their Twitter feed or on the blog. It'll come through here as well. So it's just another place where I bounce back and forth between these three services. And my three main connections to the outside world are my Seismic, my Twitter and Seismic, my Facebook, and my Friendfeed. And sometimes there's duplication, sometimes there's not. So it is a bunch of different things.
To comment on your duplication, though, when it kind of getting back to the strategy of it, what I've noticed, and I didn't notice it, once I noticed it, I kind of became more conscious of it. I might, whiz through all those feeds very quickly and just read the headlines, but when I start to kind of see the same headline from multiple sources.
Exactly.
When I've seen it in 3 different feeds, or in your case, when you see it mentioned in Twitter, Facebook, and Friendfeed from 4 different people,
you know start something's up.
Yeah, maybe that's something I really should be paying attention to because lots of people are talking about
Everyone is talking about this. What do I need to? Yeah, so you will see the same thing, and you can see pictures come through here. Let's see, I don't know what's come up here while I've been sitting, so I'm just looking.
Yeah, we don't know what people are saying. So
it's just the public internet. Oh, I'm wondering if chicken pot pie counts for Pi Day. Hey, yes, it does. I'll tell Derek that later.
He's got several yes votes already.
Good. So you see here, this is Karen Schneiderman linking to a Mashable.com article. I also follow Mashable itself in Facebook. But now I know Karen thinks this is something interesting, so I may now go and look at that and say, I wonder why she thinks that that's so important to share as well. as opposed to all the other Mashable articles. So yeah, you will see things repeated, and that's then too what makes me think I need to look at that as well. But a lot of it, and also the other direction I go as well, if I see the same thing over and over again, I can mentally ignore it pretty quickly because I know I've already seen that headline. So it goes both ways. There's a lot of mental filtering that you need to do. But this is how I do it. I've moved away from RSS feeds, which were for years and years, my thing. I had one place I went to, and just because of a weird technical issue with blog lines, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it. I think they're awesome. I'd love to get back into it, but I'm getting everything. I have not discovered that I have missed out on anything because I have these 3 things, and I have people that just tell me things, and it's working. So I think really the big takeaway from this is there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's multiple ways to get your information, and you need to figure out which one works best for you.
Do you notice it actually, one of the things I notice here is that really and honestly, I have an RSS feed and it's full of stuff. But we're actually kind of looking at different kinds of stuff. I think our emphases of different kinds of material.
Well, our jobs have different emphases.
Yes,
so
they do.
you know,
so you will have to go and find what is something that relates to your job. What organizations should you be following on these services? What organizations and things should you follow? So it's going to be what relates to you, what you do. As you can see, I also mix up both personal and work-related things.
And that's a conversation I have with several other librarians on a regular basis who try to completely separate it.
You can do it either way.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It is hard.
Because, okay, you might follow a bunch of librarians, but that doesn't mean the librarians are always tweeting something that's relevant to librarianship.
This is true.
I mean, there were some things coming across there that were definitely not related to librarianship. You could argue maybe the Facebook thing.
Yes, Derek was asking about eating chicken pot pie. He's a library student down in New Orleans, so he is totally libraries. But you know, he likes chicken pot pie.
So and that's where then I use something like Instapaper to say, okay, not really work related. I'll read that when I get home. You know, it's whereas kind of via email, it does allow you to focus a little more.
It does. It focuses me more, and see, that's kind of one of the things that makes me nuts about Twitter.
Fair enough.
But you hear some good stuff there, and you'll hear it first there. So it, and I still do, have we answered the question, what do you read? And the answer is, all kinds of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
What can we say? I would say when you get stuff on Twitter all the time, people are going to be referring you to other articles, other blogs. You look at it, you think it's worthwhile, go ahead, subscribe to it, put it in your RSS feed, get the email newsletter, whatever. Look at it for a couple of weeks. If it's no good, unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Really, that only takes a second.
Yep.
It doesn't take a lot of time to subscribe or unsubscribe, but you kind of do need to do it mindfully because you will bury yourself.
Yes.
I just accept that I'm buried. I'm like the zombie hands coming out of the ground.
Yes,
you know, kind of
I do too, but I
manage it.
I do manage it.
Yeah. I used to have an issue with Twitter. Twitter was the first real big social thing that I got into. I think it has been around for so long. And I remember I used to come in the mornings, this is before there was Facebook or Friendfeed, and I would scroll back and scroll back and scroll back to see what everyone had said because I didn't want to miss. What if I missed something? And one day I just had to stand up for myself and say, no, I'm going to start reading from the minute I walked in. If somebody posted something an hour ago or in the middle of the night when I wasn't here or if I was on vacation or at a conference, I just have to, you have to be okay with the fact that you don't get to see it all, and I just pick up from where I've sat down. And then, like we've said before, if there's something really, really important, someone else will share it, someone else will say something about it, you'll see it in another place.
Yes, you will.
Something that was tweeted somewhere might then the next day become an article on Mashable or on MSNBC.com or CNN.com even. So I had just had to sit back and say, it's okay, I don't know what happened while I was sleeping.
I treat it like, walking into a room where there's conversation going on. if I wasn't in the room, I didn't hear the conversation, and I'm not going to take the time to say, okay, everybody stop talking, back up, tell me what I missed.
Right.
I wasn't there. I missed it. If it's important, it'll come back around to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
and now I'm okay. I'm not overwhelmed.
no more FOMO.
And no
more FOMO.
And as far as setting aside time to do this, I didn't answer it for myself. I don't really do that. The way I work is I work on a particular project or something. If I'm working on putting together a spreadsheet or a class or scheduling a session or something with NCompass Live, I do that, and then I always have to take some sort of a mental break. And that's when I pop over for a little time and see what's going on in these feeds, for me, and see what's going on. So I'll pop over and see what has happened, and I'll take that will be, okay, that project's done, so that I can transition into something else. I mentally do some of this stuff, and then I jump into my next project that I need to work on and do something with. So it's a back and forth kind of thing for me. That may not work for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people do like what Laura, they say, an hour in the morning, I read my whatever feeds, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And that's fine.
I've tried doing the email thing you do, and I can't. I have yet to pull that off.
No, I leave my email open all the time.
I know.
But I don't go, oh my gosh, somebody sent me something. I just always do have it open. And
I always have it open. But I don't. If I'm doing something, I can concentrate on what I'm doing, and the little email notification.
Oh no, I close it. I have to close the email, or else I'm going to check it.
I don't even bother with it. But so what are we saying? We're saying find the tools that work for you and spend a little time to make sure that they work for you. Mm-hmm. The tools that work for us, email, and it has certain virtues. It tends to structure things quite a bit. Mm-hmm. RSS, it's a way to put things in. Michael's an incredibly organized person. His office is neat.
No, I just fake it well.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually,
so,
I want to just keep talking. No, go ahead. I'm doing something.
So RSS works for him because that's where he can put things and organize them and have them where he needs them when he needs them. Christa likes to break up her day a little bit. So these tools work for her. And she is more interested in getting the news from the horse's mouth, kind of.
Yeah.
You know. I'm ready.
From the group.
Yeah, I'm ready to wait till the New York Times reporter writes it up.
And I come in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
So I don't know if this helped people.
It gives you. Anybody have any comments or tips from out there? I mean, we're actually about almost 10 after 11 here, so we should be wrapping up a little bit.
I wish people would email me and tell me what they're reading. We'll put it in our blog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to hear what's working for people. I think it's a valuable exchange of ideas. We showed you ours. Now you show us yours. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
There's a nice wrap-up.
Okay.
Okay.
On that note.
Well, thank you, everyone. Actually, can you type in NCompass Live?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this morning. I hope that was useful and interesting. I thought it was interesting. I learned some new things. Normally at this point, it'd be where I would invite you to join us next week for whatever our topic is next week. We are right now in the very midst of confirming who our speakers will be for next week. And I'm checking my email here. We don't have a final confirmation yet. Darn. So keep your ears and eyes open for a post hopefully later today.
Yeah. It will be one of two topics.
On the website for what will be next Wednesday's topic. It was kind of a, unfortunately, not a last minute thing. It was just, it took a little while to get arranged.
Yeah, a little more complicated than usual.
So look for that. But the week after that, the last week in March, Laura will be back with me for Reflections on PLA 2012, which is happening right now, which may be why we're not getting responses.
That's probably why we're not hearing from our speakers. Yes.
But we have scholarship students that we send to conferences, and we have sent some how many?
Continuing education and training grants.
Continuing education and training grants, and we sent. Do you know how many? I don't even know how many we sent.
5 or 6.
5 or 6 people that we sent with grants to PLA. So they're there right now. Hi guys. So they will be coming back and joining us, some of them, on the last Wednesday this month, to share what they saw at PLA this year.
Yeah.
So if you weren't able to attend, yeah, you'll be able to see what other people did.
Sure.
No, yeah. So we do have thank you very much. Lots of information, and we enjoyed the session today. Good. So
thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all for attending. Thank you guys for joining, and Laura for this great idea for this. And I hope you'll join us next week for whatever we have as a topic.
Okay.
Surprise!
Surprise. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
You first.